That was slightly unconvincing. I said, are you guys ready? Yeah! That's what I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Headlocked panel. I'm your host, David Voxmola from the DVM Production Empire. Thank you, Mom, for coming. I appreciate it. Dad, sorry, actually. We have an esteemed panel here today for you. Some people from the world of professional wrestling and from the world of fantastic art in the form of comic book. To start things off, we've got the writer and creator of Headlocked, Mike Kingston. Give him a big round of applause. Joining him is the seven-time, multi-time Eisner Award-winning artist, Jill Thompson, ladies and gentlemen.
That's why I asked.
And of course, we have at the end there former WWE, TNA, and podcast extraordinaire, Mr. Ken Anderson, ladies and gentlemen. And last but certainly not least, the three-time WWE champion, Hall of Famer, hardcore legend, New York Times #1 bestseller. My mom's a big fan. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mick Foley. Now today at the panel we're going to be talking about the marriage between professional wrestling and comics and art, and it's something that everyone here has a passion for on both sides of the aisle here. And so I would say, Mike, let's kick things off with you. How in the world did you get into the world of comics and professional wrestling?
Oh, look at that. So, I was a wrestling fan and a comic book fan probably since I was 8 years old. I loved them both. And I would buy, every time a wrestling comic would come out, I'd go down to the store, new comic day, I'd buy that wrestling comic. And it was never really what I wanted. It was Undertaker fighting demons or whatever. It was wrestlers doing anything but wrestling.
It was Cactus Jack attempting to blow up a cruise ship in 1999.
Ultimate Warrior stripping Santa Claus naked. I mean, there was a lot of some dark moments there, but it was never anything about actual wrestling, and it wasn't. As a wrestling fan, that was what I always wanted to read about. So, I guess I've never been one to bitch about it on the internet. I just made my own book, and I created Headlocked, and we've been doing it for a couple of years now and started building a name. When I started, we didn't get a whole lot of love on the comic book side of things. There are people like, oh, wrestling comics don't sell, wrestling fans don't read. I heard it all, and so I did it myself again. I worked 2 jobs for over a year to pay for the production on my first book. And just started going to shows. I go to wrestling shows, go to comic book shows, just to get in front of people. And then I began to sort of attract the attention of wrestlers who like comics. Rob Van Dam bought a copy of my book from me at San Diego, and Hurricane bought a copy from me at, I want to say maybe New York. From there, when Kickstarter became like a thing, I was able to get some of these guys who were liked what I was doing to contribute to the books artistically. And we've been pretty successful. I'm really happy with where we're at. I mean, we got a long way to go, but I'm really happy. When I look back from kind of how far we've come, I'm pretty excited.
Excellent. Do we have any artists in the audience tonight? Excellent. Perfect. I'm glad you know that they're all in the other hall. All right. Good. Okay. Well,
good. Less competition.
Yeah. You said you could say anything you want, and nobody's going to get hurt.
Jill's price just went up.
Jill is.
That's right.
Jill is a fantastic artist. She has done a lot of work, and she's designed some very popular T-shirts that I've seen around. And there's an interesting story.
I'm dying to tell this story. My perspective. I think I had an unknown, it was like serendipitous, right? Because I met Jill in 1999 at a book signing.
Wait, what does serendipitous mean?
I mean, almost meant to be. It was elements of the universe all colliding in the right. Yeah, because I met Jill in 1999 when my towering New York Times #1 bestseller, Have a Nice Day, was out. And I didn't know who she was. It's been a long time since I'd read comic books. I grew up as a huge fan. To this day, in my house, I have a collection. There's one issue I'm missing. I have like a 10-year streak, The Incredible Hulk, dating back from like 73 through 83, including issue 181 with the origin of the Wolverine. As it turns out that I went in and saw this book that was in great condition, thumbed through it, and turns out I had cut out the Marvel trading stamp, reducing its value greatly. And Jill had given me her number, and it was like months later, right? Months later, and I just called her out of the blue, and I said, yeah, can you draw Santa Claus? And I had no idea what she could do, and then she brought all these amazing Santas for me, and it turned out like the ideas that she came up with ended up being of great help to Jerry the King Lawler, who did my book Christmas Chaos. But as soon as I had a chance to do a book on my own, I did, and Jill and I did Halloween Hijinks, we did Tales from Resca Lane, and then because of that, like Jill started coming to the matches as my guest, quickly became a very good friend. And once people realized that I was hanging out with Jill Thompson, like, you know, it was one thing to be the hardcore legend, it was another thing to know Jill Thompson. And it was like Hurricane and people like that, like, you know, and Punk, you know, they just really, and when Punk came on board, like, they really embraced her, they really respected her work. And
I don't know if this issue will work anymore.
I don't know, I'm just telling you from my perspective that I would, you know, I had to then share her. And it hurt a little bit. She's my friend, and I had to share her with everybody. But there was, and then there was this time when, Ken, you probably find this when you go to wrestling conventions, and there's 150 guys there, and you just go there and you do your signing and you leave, and you might not run into people you've known for years, right? And you know, and you go, oh, I'll see them next time. I'll see them next time. And Jill and I had gone a couple of years without actually seeing each other. We'd say, hey, you're gonna be at the convention? Yeah, I'll see you there. And then we wouldn't see each other. And then I was looking through the coffee table book called Comic Book Tattoo. It was adaptations of Tori Amos songs. And I'm looking through the introduction by Neil Gaiman. And it said, on the same night that Jill Thompson would show me an illustration of Death Naked, I would meet Tori Amos. And I said out loud, I said, my Jill Thompson? And I called up Jill, I said, Jill, do you know Neil Gaiman? And she said, yeah, I did, like, you know, I did Sandman. Like, I didn't understand, like, I was like, these worlds were just colliding. Like, you're not gonna find wrestling / Tori Amos fans. But you will find Sandman / Tori Amos fans and wrestling / Tori Amos fans. Like, there's this overlap in these weird worlds where...
I'm all of those fans.
Right?
All
It's, yeah. And so I just, you know, and we had this long talk, and that was in 2008. I'm like, I'm not going to take your friendship for granted after that. And I know I'm getting way off topic, but again,
I'm being so put over on this panel.
but I didn't realize, but for me, it all goes back to that day in Schaumburg. Was it Schaumburg where I did the book signing in '99? And just this young lady handed me the number and told me she was an artist. So I think.
You forgot a part of the story.
Let me hear it.
Go back.
That was
and start
not the
again.
first time we met.
All right.
Is Brian Polito in the audience? Okay, he's not.
When he did Chaos.
the artist.
Chaos
Right.
Comics. I met you in San Diego where you were doing a panel from Have a Nice Day because WWE was doing
Right.
the comics with Chaos, and you had a comic, and actually I was going to be drawing the China comic, and then that didn't happen. But I wanted to meet you really, really badly, and I was standing in the back of this auditorium this big, and Brian said, come up, I'll introduce you to him afterwards. And I was like beet red because I was so excited to meet you. And when you put your arm around me to take a picture, when you removed your arm, there was a white print because I was so blushing all over that when you moved your hand, it was like I had been in the sun. And I have that picture, which I have on my bulletin board, and everybody that used to come into my studio would ask, was that my husband? And I'm like, No. But after that, I kind of stalked you in the old-fashioned stalky way, but kind of a nice way, where the internet was very basic. There weren't very many pictures on it. It was barely past being a green screen with a little blinky DOS, shall we play a game, war games type of interface. But the WWE had lists of personal appearances,
Yeah.
and I saw that you were signing "Have a Nice Day," not in Chicago yet, but somewhere else. And I sent you all of my books and a letter because Brian Polito mentioned that you wanted to write a children's book. So I wrote you a letter saying if you ever want to write, if I heard you might want to write a children's book, if you ever need an artist, I think I know
And you
someone
sent
that
that to,
might
you sent that to
be- I
WWE?
sent- No, I sent it to the bookstore you were going to.
Oh.
And my phone number was in the list, and I never expected to hear from you. And then one day I came into my studio and my answering machine was beeping, and I listened to it, and it was you, and then I screamed and ran around my studio like I was on fire.
There was like 17 messages too, like, hey, it's Mick again. I was in the shower. I heard the phone ring. Guess not. See ya.
And then I called you back, and you said, do you think you might want to draw some Santa Clauses? And then I drew you a bunch of Santa Clauses, and then I came to your book signing out in Schaumburg. And then everything else. Everything else is fine.
It's not so much
stalky
the
part.
intersection of wrestling and comics as the evolution of the friendship of Mick and Jill, right? Thanks for
Not married?
No.
No.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for
But
hearing
I do
that.
have the same outfit.
Yeah.
I'm just not wearing it today.
All right. So, all right. So there you go. We're open to more questions now. I just want to get off.
Well, another person who has the same trunks as I do is Ken Anderson at the end of the panel. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Anderson. Ken. Yes. Yeah, blatant plug. Sorry. So, Ken, you are a big comic fan, obviously, and that has influenced you how?
Are you?
You know what? I just like the art. I grew up reading comics. Yeah.
Because everyone says, I love the story before they say they love the art. It used to be they love the art before the story. It's nice to hear that somebody loves the art first.
Yeah, I really do. A lot of times I won't even read the words. I'll just look at the pictures because.
In his defense, 2 syllables give him trouble.
That's describing my entire teenage life with Playboy. Never read the articles ever.
Not anymore.
But you also have done some contributions to comics as well, right?
I contributed a picture to Mike's
Really?
second to last book. Yeah.
Yes.
I
I
used
thought
to
he
draw
wrote.
a lot when I was in
I didn't know he
school,
drew.
and I used to get people that I would do caricatures of people, and I would get requests all the time to the point where it got to be, it wasn't fun for me anymore.
Draw me like one of your French girls. Draw me like one of your French girls.
We can talk about that, but this
After
is
the panel.
not the time nor the place, okay? But yeah, so I just quit, but I had this big book at home of like old drawings and stuff like that. And I saw that we had a lot of mutual friends, and a lot of my buddies
I want to see that.
were working on your book, and we met, and I mean, we fell in love instantly. Or what you
Music
fell in love.
played.
No one's drawn
Jerry
that
is
way
a
before.
All right, so before we open it up for questions, which we will do for all of you, I wanted to get everybody's take on what they feel is the future of comic books as far as wrestling and wrestling stories and things like that. Like, where do you think it's going, and where would you like to see it go? Start with Mike.
Well,
It's a loaded question. Mike.
yeah, no, I mean, I'd like to, have a little Headlocked empire. I mean, honestly, I just like doing the book, and if I did it for 10 years and I didn't make a dime and I didn't lose a dime, like, I'd totally call that a win. Like, it's something I enjoy doing. I've had a lot of fun. I've met a lot of really cool and talented people that I grew up, watching. like the last time we did New York, I told Mick a story about how I chased him down for an autograph after he wrestled Undertaker, not the Hell in the Cell one, but a different match.
I wouldn't have been hard to catch that night.
And, it's been really cool. I don't know, they always say don't meet your heroes, but, I've met a good number of my heroes. Jerry Lawler does the covers to my books and is one of my better friends. And, all of my heroes have turned out to be pretty awesome. So I consider that to be a cool thing. But yeah, as far as the future, we're trying to build Headlocked, just get it to a point where, we fund them through Kickstarters right now. It's a cheap plug. We're going to be launching the Kickstarter at 7:30 here at the end of the panel for our
Wait,
next
what? What did you just say?
Really?
Yeah,
It's like a
actually.
big bomb you just dropped there, Mike. What was
Yeah, I
that?
know, right? But we'll talk
But
about
do you have
that
like
after.
a button that you push?
I literally have a button to push
And
that
then-
says launch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We like pushing
Oh,
buttons
right,
around
on the
there.
phone. Okay. I
Yes.
just
And
thought I had to follow.
I'd like to get to a point where I can just write the book and not have to push it so hard where I'm gone every weekend going to shows and stuff. I like to be able to just focus on creating and whatnot, but it's also nice to be able to go to wrestling shows and comic book shows and be out and be amongst people. So for me, I guess, we just wanted just one reader at a time. We built this thing totally grassroots, and I just want to keep it going.
Mike, that's why wrestling and comics intersect so well, because we live the same lifestyle. You're on the road every weekend doing a show. It might be an indie show where you're doing all the setup, you're meeting and greeting, you're doing all the work, you tear it down, you get back in your car, and you drive to the next place. And
Yeah,
it's very similar. It's like
I mean, I have a regular job. I work like 60 hours a week. I work nights. Usually I leave Friday morning. I get out of work at 4:30. I drive right to the airport. I fly somewhere. I set up. I do a show for 3 days. I fly home. I leave the airport. I go right to my job. A lot of weekends I don't see my house. But it's all, like, I don't feel that pain at all. Like, 6 hours at Thanksgiving
Well,
with my in-laws.
You're making us feel your pain.
6 hours at Thanksgiving with my in-laws. I feel every minute of that. But the travel, it's all part of the the passion.
There are times when I'll look out at Artist Alley and I'll feel a wave of guilt when I see these amazing artists, and then I see myself drawing circles on a sock. And I take a deep breath and wait for the guilt to go away.
Popular circles, though. Popular circles.
As far as I'm lucky, Jim from Paper Cuts is here, and he gave me the opportunity to work on a story arc for WWE Comics, and I love the fact that whereas wrestlers in the ring are bound by limitations of human suffering, really when you're on the page you're only bound by the imagination. So for those first 4 stories, we had to convince WWE that the storylines take place outside the ring, because we could see those matches. You could be in the ring every Thursday night or Friday night at the time, every Monday night. So we had like an alternate universe that was a lot of fun to read. But we had a chance to create epic matches, dream matches between people from other generations, living and dead, and it was nice that people came around. It's slow, like Mike says. It's not instantaneous. People don't necessarily click and go, "This is exactly what I want to see." But it's nice when you get the feedback, and then people go like, "Yeah, that was really good." So it's you keep at it. I think it's still a work in progress, in that so many of the realization is it will come eventually, and it's on its way. But I don't think people automatically realize, wow, wrestlers are comic book fans, and we're storytellers. And I know when I went back into wrestling after a while, I just read through dozens of my Hulk magazines. I was like, wow, you create a character. Like, we create a heel. We give him birth. The origin of the heel. We get heat on him. And then we leave off with that first story. Marvel used to do like the 2-story arc, and there's and then granted that some of the dialogue is delivered while the fight is going on. So you got to suspend disbelief for that. But to be able to bring these stories to conclusions in 2 episodes, and sometimes do it in really dramatic, touching fashion, really, and to do it over and over and over again, year after year, is I think really impressive, and it reminds me of wrestling in the sense that there's so much out there, and you're essentially throwing something at the wall every month and hoping some of it sticks. But when it does, you can come up with something really, really moving. And I remember the stories from when I was a kid and how badly I would wait, hoping that day was coming. That day was coming around that month, and the Hulk was gonna arrive in the mailbox, and how wise I was to fold that comic in half and put it in my back pocket.
You just enjoyed it.
I did. I enjoyed that kind of it. And just before we turn it over to Jill and Ken, I just want to reflect on when I was a kid. I had a brother who's a year older than me, and generally he wouldn't let me, hang out with his friends at all. And the one exception he made is we went to John Buscema's house because John's dad was John.
Forgetting about this.
Was John. He was John Buscema.
Oh my God.
And while my brother and John Jr. swam in the pool, I went into John's studio and watched him draw the Hulk. It was, and so I left, and he made me he made me the Hulk by hand. He was working on the Thor, and then he made me a drawing of Hulk by hand.
You have a John Buscema drawing?
Yeah. Did I pronounce it wrong? You said it right?
What?
You say it right, I think.
No, you said it right.
I said Buscema. Buscema, right?
It was actually Steve Buscemi.
No, that was
You didn't want to hurt your
it was the
feelings.
uncle. There was two Buscemis.
They were related to each
Sal,
other?
Yeah.
no, there's Sal.
Sal, you're thinking of the actor.
Yeah. it
Yeah,
was.
so it was Sal and John. Sal and John.
That's me trying to make a joke and you just killing me. That was great. That was great. I appreciate that. I've just been heckled by Mick Foley. I can die now. That's great.
Do you still have that drawing?
I have it somewhere. I have it in my somewhere in my.
Fold it up in your back pocket.
Oh, give you.
Oh, wait, this
This is a true
string
story.
is on it. No.
We know that Kurt's unique, right?
What do you mean?
And
This is the comic story I want to draw. Whatever
this
you're
is
just going to
there was
say.
a great artist in England, and she had that ability, like great artists do, not just to represent like what somebody looks like, but like to give you a sense of their soul, right? And she gave Kurt an original piece of artwork, and Kurt got all choked up, and he actually, tears. He had to stop. He choked back tears. He thanked her so much, and then he folded it in quarters and put it in his back pocket. Swear to you.
And then played football with it.
So let that be a lesson to you. If you want to produce a comic book, you should definitely do it. Work hard on it, and maybe someday Ron Van Dam will buy it. We're gonna open it up for questions here because we're getting short on time. So if anybody has some questions, go ahead and stand up here by the microphone, and if we can do it all orderly and politely. And this is not a presidential rally, so let's make sure we keep it all calm. Right, City? Right? Okay. Go ahead, first question.
Hi.
I would actually like to know whether it be a supervillain or a superhero, which is your favorite? Like superhero or villain, if you both.
Batman. Dork. Yeah, I'm not a
You
huge comic book
generally
fan.
play a villain.
Huh?
You're more villainous. than you're
Kind of a
stronger.
tweener.
Or an anti-hero.
Just walk the line of
So you're Wolverine.
Wolverine, Deadpool.
Oh.
I like Deadpool a lot. I just
He
saw
is
the movie.
definitely a tweener.
I saw the side and a little aside here. I saw Deadpool in those seats that vibrate.
Did you have to put a quarter in the seat?
First of all, my girl sitting next to me was really enjoying the movie.
She saw it 3 times.
So you ordered a set for home, is what you've done.
I was like, let's go. She, But that thing is awesome.
I have to go see Deadpool right now.
Thank you for your question. Next question.
Well, who was your
Well,
favorite? Favorite
Oh,
villain?
they're
or-
asking you guys.
No, yeah. Go, Jill. Superhero.
Let's see. Okay, I'll answer it honestly. Kitty Pryde, because that's why I started reading X-Men. 13-year-old curly-haired girl lives outside of Chicago, has superpowers. Nobody likes her really very much. Okay, I identify with that. totally becomes part of this amazing group of people, like the outcome. Then, oh, she meets Phoenix. I could live with that giant redhead. Julie Newmar, Catwoman, always a big plus, and then Wonder Woman.
Ooh, Julie Newmar's Catwoman.
I do
Yeah.
that.
Incredible Hulk, you know, before he, in one scene, in a certain point of the storyline, he was able to control his emotions, and he'd lost a little sense of the character, you know.
Can you do that still?
I don't know. I don't know if he still can, but I like that 73 to 83 run he was on. I really enjoyed. I got out of comic books like in '83, and then I got involved in wrestling. And I remember like seeing a comic book store, and I was walking by. I was like, I wonder. And I went back in there like the early '90s. And I wonder what it's like. And then I heard a guy say something like, "Yeah, it's too bad that Dr. Doom is dead." And the other guy looked at me and goes, "I wouldn't count on it. Dr. Doom is the greatest long-term planner of all time." And I just said, I'm out of here. Like that was too strange for me. Those are my, Julie Newmar, loved Julie Newmar, and I loved The Incredible Hulk.
Good. All right, next question.
So, what do comics teach you about telling stories in the ring, and what did being a wrestling fan teach you about making comics? And also, Rock and Soccer Union and WrestleMania?
Will The Rock and Sock wrestle again?
At
No.
WrestleMania.
Oh, at WrestleMania? No, I don't think so. You know, we reunited in 2004. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see that on his agenda. I really don't. Was nice. You're gonna be there? All right. Awesome.
Ooh.
Awesome.
So the question is how has reading comics affected your ability to tell a story in the ring?
Well, again, I wasn't a huge comic book fan, but I do appreciate them, obviously. But I think the thing about wrestling and storytelling is once you learn how to tell a story, it applies to everything. When you watch movies, as a wrestler, you start to like use wrestling vernacular for parts of the movie. Like, oh, this is the babyface shine.
Yeah.
Here's where the heel comes. Oh, there's a little hope spot
Oh,
there.
cut him
Heel,
off,
Cut him
yeah.
back off again.
Screw job ending.
Oh,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Steal this from Hurricane, but he said the whole entire Avengers movie was just a build up to the hot tag for the Hulk.
What I got from I think the comic books was I always empathized with the kind of the heel who was kind of created by mankind, and that has come back from like Frankenstein down through the Hulk, and even like depending on which storyline it was, Submariner was either a heel or a babyface depending on what arc it was. Silver Surfer was the same way, and so I like those guys who kind of like, in between. There's no in between. Captain America was so squeaky clean, right? Spider-Man was, by some counts, like a mercenary. So I like those guys like kind of lived in the, in that gray area, and I always thought those are the characters I associated with the most as a wrestling fan, and then later as a wrestler tried to be.
Hi. First of all, I just want to thank you, Mick, for all the work you do with Rain. It really means a lot to
thanks.
survivors and the family members. And Jill,
Thank you.
Your Godmother was the first book my daughter ever read to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I guess my question is, do you guys agree with the fact that wrestling and comics both can kind of correlate as a form of escapism, something to distract you from maybe a not so great life? That's how I see as a comic fan and a wrestling fan things to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's a big reason why we do it. I know a lot of people knock Mr. McMahon, but he absolutely firmly believes that what we do, is important in that we provide a momentary escape, from the real world.
We put smiles on people's faces.
Damn it.
I've heard that a few times.
Apparently, he hasn't been in the Foley living room at 11:10 p.m. on Monday nights. Well, you have to have the arc, you know, and then we conclude. But I love it, you know, and I think every Monday night, like sometimes you're disappointed, but it's still that feeling like we're about to enter a cool world, you know. Pay-per-views, the same thing. Even when I've been, you know, had a strained relationship, I love the fact that my kids love it, and you know, definitely escape. Just like comic books, just like going to a movie, and it's really well done. Whether it's huge, you know, big budget or low budget, if it's well done, and and you can suspend disbelief and enter that world.
What was that quote? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What was that quote that you said about the guy with Dr. Doom? What did he say about Dr. Doom?
He's I wouldn't count on it. He's the greatest long-term planner of all time, and I'm like,
This is how when I watch wrestling, it's like, because things happen and you're like, okay, are they out? Are they injured? Is this real? Is this a work? Okay, I can see this guy coming back, and then, well, wait, no, okay, 6 months. Okay, by WrestleMania, this is gonna happen. You know, I mean, it's definitely the same thing with comics. You can say, oh, this person isn't dead.
no, you can just draw Dr. Doom back in.
Okay, I mean storytelling wise.
Yeah,
You know,
I agree with that.
So I see, I mean, it's just storytelling in general. They just happen to do it live and sometimes have to change their entire character 15 minutes before the show goes on because of something else that has happened, which means that they're not only the best live storytellers around, they're the greatest improvisers around, and anything else you might want, and actors to throw in there because they have to do so many things all at the same time. I mean, with comics, at least I get to plan it, and if I screw up, I can rip it up and throw it away and start over and be upset about it. But these guys make it up as they go along, which is why I think anybody up here on stage translates so well to writing comics or even drawing comics, because they tell a live story constantly. It's all in them what happens, and then they get so many things thrown at them that they have to change. It's like, you have this idea that you want your character to go this way, but maybe Mr. McMahon or somebody else will say, no, this is what you're gonna do, and either you can make it work or it's gonna cause you to go someplace else, and or literally go someplace else. And in comics, like the story, any story that you tell, whether it's a superhero story or a Western or a real life story, you know, you get a chance to plan it out, but they have to wing it a lot.
I think it's a form of escapism for the wrestlers as much as it is for the fans. I mean, we get to go out there and cosplay for work. That's what we do for a living. Really, we get to don these little skinny tights and shave our legs and wear baby oil and pretend to fight other grown men for a living, and women.
I'm gonna write all my comics like that now.
You're actually gonna write them while you're sitting in the
Yeah, I'm gonna shave myself and oil up, and then I'm gonna hit the keyboard.
Yeah, I like it. Just a whole bottle of baby oil. Excellent.
I'm the oddity. I'm the wrestler with the hairy forearms. Like, oh, what is that? Like, that's what happens when you don't shave your arms like 3 times a week, you know.
Did you wear wrist tape?
I did, yeah.
And did that just kill you every
Yeah,
time you
sure
took it
did.
off?
Yeah, I did.
But maybe just a hardcore legend was like,
When I did the match with Edge in Rosemont, we went through that table was on fire, and everything that was taped,
as you do.
the hair was intact, and then everything from there on up was just gone. So I had hair removed in an instant.
Well,
Edge's eyelashes gone.
Really?
Yeah, they evaporated. Yeah.
There was a drinking game that my friends and I would do at, I don't know, Patrick, are you here? Damn, nobody's here. That I know. That we would do when we watched wrestling or WrestleMania. Mostly it was WrestleMania because it was a special occasion. But anytime a guy that actually had body hair would perform, we would take shot. And there was a Shawn Michaels match that got us so loaded because it wasn't any time they came into the ring, it was any time they were on the screen.
Oh my God.
And because first of all, we thought we got this because there's nobody else that has anything. There's no, like, everybody's completely baby oiled up and shaved down, and then it was just like, oh no, please don't let this be a 60-minute match or we're all gonna be dead.
It wasn't the ladder match with Razor Ramon, was it?
I know, yeah.
Whole lot of body hair.
Next question.
Okay.
I just want to say,
I think we just shared a homoerotic moment there.
I just
Not
want
that
to
there's
say
anything wrong with it.
how much I appreciate this panel because my partner and I are communication scholars who are working on a project about professional wrestling and how it's a place where different forms of media sort of converge. Because professional wrestling isn't just two guys getting a fight or whatever. It's taking stuff from film, from other types of storytelling, from comic books, and all these things and putting them into one form of entertainment. And then it also influences all these other forms of entertainment because you see wrestling moves happening in movies now. You see stuff like Lucha Underground where it's a telenovela with wrestling in it. And I'm just wondering if you would agree with that to any extent, or if you think we're way off base.
Wrestling and comics will never work together.
No.
Wait, no, they're great.
Yeah, I definitely do. Like I love the aspect of camera shots, and when I would go around, even in the late '80s in World Class, it was like, what, you want us to get camera shot? Like, what do you care? So, no, you see, if you get a over-the-shoulder shot of him dropping an elbow off the ring area, you're losing your depth perspective. Like, can you come down low? And people they thought it was a pain in the neck, and so when I got to WCW, Ted Turner's World Championship Wrestling, Jackie Krog was one of the cameramen, and he was like, okay, what do you want to do? And I said, yeah, can you get it low? Like, I want it to look like I'm coming into people's living rooms. And he would get that low shot, and then when I'd hit, he would shake that camera, And now it's like a given that they're going to go around and ask guys, what the big moves are. So, you look at the camera, if I did the big Boiler Room match with Big Show going back to 1999, and my hand was bleeding, and I made sure that as I got to the door, it was like I made sure I didn't just turn the thing. It was like, here comes the hand on the frame, and then there goes the smear. And I always saw it in the sense of making a movie. Like I always, and we would talk about different movies, like compare what we were trying to do to the way we felt. In big movies. So I think that's definitely appropriate. Yeah.
I don't know why more people don't more wrestlers don't study film and study acting and things like that, because that's what we do. We go out there and we tell stories, and it's those cinematic moments like you were just talking about, the handprint on the door and things like that, that I think set one match apart from another match.
Yeah.
It's another Titanic reference. I love it.
Huh?
And on the.
I used to watch you at ECW back in Green Bay.
Wow, awesome.
Wow. Next question.
I'm sorry.
What?
Wait, quick thing. I was talking about a role I did with Willem Dafoe, and how he did the, and when he was shot from behind by Tom Berenger, and Sergeant Elias dropped to his knees, and he went and he did the cell, and like this, and I was like, that's Dusty's cell, like the Jesus cell is Dusty's cell, and that art, subliminal, that's an art of selling and getting these people have that locked in their head, they know it from somewhere, they don't know where. And as soon as I saw it, like, you got that from Dusty Rhodes, whether he knew it or not, it's subliminal. So, borrowing is everywhere.
Well, rules of improv are the most important person with you on stage is your partner, not you. And for you guys, it definitely has to be, right? Because if your partner isn't doing his job, you could get very badly injured. And also, your move doesn't, if they don't sell you, then it doesn't look good, and somebody's being a dick, right?
I was just in a match with somebody over in the UK, and this guy wasn't selling anything that I did to him. I would like literally punch him, and he was just like, he'd look at me like this.
How do you not really punch him
Because,
then?
so I got to the back, and I was like, look, man, he's pretty green. He's pretty new. So I just said, look, I don't care if you know some of my shit. And I said, I'm sorry, man. I don't care if you know some of my stuff. I really don't. It's fake wrestling. we're telling stories. It's the people out there that care. Like, you should be trying to tell. The reason that people got behind Jeff Hardy and Shawn Michaels and guys like that was when they were down, they were down. Mick Foley, when he was down, when he was up, he was up. But when he's down, he's fighting and clawing from underneath, and you just want to reach to that screen and help him. And that's where we get the crowd interaction. I mean, you don't get crowd interaction if you don't have that emotional connection.
Let me, I think I summed it up in an article in SportsIllustrated.com. It's about trust, and I said, as strange as it sounds, there's a level of, this is Edge and I at WrestleMania 22. Strange as it sounds, there's a level of trust in a match like that, not unlike the kind you would experience in pairs figure skating. There's no way you even try the Iron Lotus if you're Chaz Michaels and Jimmy McElroy, unless you completely trust each other. The Iron Lotus was to figure skating what Edge and I going through a burning table was to professional wrestling. That's true. You gotta be able to trust, right?
I don't have any footnotes for anything I say.
Hey, this one time Steve Austin called me.
My question was about the fact that the WWE, they call all the wrestlers and the storylines and everything they're in the WWE universe. And one of my favorite comic book devices is the alternate universes, where you get to see superheroes kind of in different ways. And I was wondering if that's something you guys think would work in pro wrestling today, or if you think that it's something that would not work in pro wrestling today.
Do you see the light bulb over my head right now? Oh my God! I would leave right now and wait in front of the TV to see this go on, where everybody here had an evil twin or a good twin. Oh my God!
But they got the network now. I mean,
Well, there was an example, and Mike's good friends with Lawler, where they actually, and this was Memphis, in the 70s, where they took their wrestling very seriously. Like they actually, it was back when Jerry Lawler was a heel, and Lance Russell had a daydream. And on the air, they had Lance daydreaming, and they showed them transforming. And then they had Jerry wearing glasses and with a bow tie and holding the thing. And there was Lance wearing a singlet with the little buggy whip arms and browbeating Jerry Lawler. And people accepted it. It was weird because it took them out of that reality. Where you suspend disbelief in order to enjoy professional wrestling. It's we could completely accept that this could happen within that alternate reality, even though it was completely ludicrous, and there was just an example off the top of my head, but that was almost like an alternate reality. You snap your fingers and guys switch places. Does that give some? Yeah, right. Thanks.
You think Earth 2 Flash and all this kind of stuff, where there's another version and other storylines happen where you could do multiple storylines with each person of different scenarios, what would happen? Oh my gosh.
It's kind of different.
Would you shut that kid up, please? I'm just kidding.
Next question.
thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Nick. I can remember many a day coming home from school when I was a young teenager and plugging in my WrestleMania 2000 cartridge in my Nintendo 64. Using Mankind and Mr. Sacco to mandible claw every wrestler I could in Royal Rumble, and that's just a great memory I have. So thank you for being a part of that. So it brings me to my first of two quick questions. One, do you have a favorite face of Mick Foley, which you probably get a lot? And two, can I please shake your hand?
Let me get that. That'd be awesome. You put me on the spot. I did have, I don't know, it depends. I really, different days I give different answers. I enjoyed the freedom I had as commissioner to create something completely ridiculous, and every once in a while I get serious, if I needed to, but I just wanted to, and I established that commissioner was who I wanted to be, and that was my happy place. And I would do anything I needed to do to get back to that happy place, you know, so that when I occasionally come back for comeback matches, I would get as angry as I needed to in order to become that guy again. So kind of establish that character and dropped all pretense of being the toughest guy in the room, and just really had a lot of fun, you know. And I don't know if anyone's given that kind of type of creative freedom anymore, you know. Even when things failed, you know, and Vince would go, I don't think it's going to work, but I'm going to give you some leverage, and then it wouldn't always work. But you don't know unless you try. You know, I think sometimes we play it too safe, and some of the great successes, as well as great failures. You know, like, none of us are likely to see another Mark Henry date go terribly wrong. Right? We're not likely to hear the words, sweet Jesus, she has a penis. But you don't know unless you try, you know. So I like the idea that, you know, yeah, that was my favorite face for today. Love doing it, and yeah, by all means, come up here.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
By the way, I said that last night.
Next question. Next question.
I'll lay you down because I'm assuming not everyone behind me is this tall. You just mentioned Backlash against the Big Show in Boiler Room match, and I know this because I happened to read a #1 New York Times bestseller by the name of Have a Nice Day. The blood used for that, a lot of Hollywood magic happened.
Yeah, the only time in my career, and this is the difference between me in 1996 and 1999. And this is where the world of Hollywood and movies come in, they intersect. Is that there was a guy named Richie Posner, we called him the Magic Man. He could do just about anything prop-wise. He came up to me about a week before I wrestled The Undertaker.
I met him.
Yeah, you know Richie, right? So super talented. And he said, you know, want to know what you need as far as props. He's going to wrestle The Undertaker in the Boiler Room. And I said, no offense. I'd only been there a few months. I said, no offense. I said, but I don't use props. You know, if I do anything, it's going to be real, you know, it's going to be as real as possible. And then 3 years later, getting ready to take on the Big Show, I went up to Richie and I said, I need as many props as you can give me. Just prop after prop. And really nobody knew, you know, like, it was a really physical match, you know, I mean, and it was a better match, you know, and it was just kind of foolish to, you know, like, to go down, like, to be thrown down a flight of stairs and insist on not having, like, if they have a shell that you can put on your back that stuntmen use and you don't do it, and then you end up hurting for 2 months, you know, it's just kind of foolish, you know. So yeah, we used a lot of props, and that was the only time I ever utilized fake blood, and nobody knew, you know. So it was good. It was good. It worked out really good.
Only a pro wrestler will say, like, no, I want to do the real thing. Imagine like Sylvester Stallone doing a movie, but I want to go through the car windshield.
No, I really want to shoot that extra.
It's similar to the Hollywood magic that was recently used with Roman Reigns versus Triple H, which I didn't know about until someone pointed it out to me. So my question to Mr. Foley and Mr. Anderson, my question is, what are your stances on blood in 2016?
You know, I heard a lot about that. I'm not that cynical. Like, I watch it and I don't look for the mistakes like that. I can tell you that I was in the dressing room after the latest Raw, and I saw a lot of stitches, real stitches, and not a drop of fake blood. So I don't know what happened weeks before that. But referee Rudy Charles needed 17 stitches in his shin. Triple H, I mean, if you watch that and somebody goes, oh, this is funny, look at Triple H, it's this referee with the cart in the shin. It's like, yeah, it was 17 stitches, like, not quite as funny as you think, you know. And then Triple H needed medical attention as well. So I really don't know what that was. I mean, there's a place for it in the sense that it's going to happen anyway. You put Brock Lesnar out there 3 times, 2 out of those 3 is going to bleed. That's just the way he is, you know. Like, either you don't want Brock to bleed, you don't have him wrestle. That's the way. It's just going to happen, you know.
It does something to you. I think I'm sure you can relate. If you see your own blood, you smell your own blood, you taste your own blood, you either get one of 2 things happens: fight or flight. And I'd fight. Like, oh, this feels real.
What is
No,
it when you just pass
it
out?
really
That's
feels
what I do.
super.
I just
What?
go down. I just pass out. What is that?
That would be.
Fight, flight, or faint.
Yeah, there you go. But I was having a match with Batista at the Great American Bash. It was like my first big pay-per-view match. I had had one pay-per-view match before that, but this was like, you know, my biggest opponent to date. And we were gonna have this match where Batista had come back from an injury, and he was supposed to be just a madman, just pissed off. And he was gonna basically, we were gonna have a match, but at some point he was gonna lose his cool and destroy me. And I was like, well, I should get some color. I should get some sauce. I should bleed. And no, because Undertaker is having a Punjabi prison match with the Great Khali, and they're gonna probably do it. And so okay, whatever. And I think it was right before that match was right before us, and literally I think it was the Great Khali was supposed to get color, blood, and he like poked himself with a toothpick. Just like a trickle of blood. But anyway, come to my match. And literally in the opening minute of the match, Dave rammed my head into the steps, and instead of blocking it, I just like put my hands like this and just split the uprights. I remember going, BAM! And I'm bleeding. And I was just, the rest of the match just covered, right? And I remember at one point I got on top of Batista, he was on his back, and I was like raining these punches down on his face, and these drops of blood were going on his face, and one drop of blood went in his eyeball, and I was like, this is awesome. and then at the end of the match,
Like it's all worried when this happens. Like, oh my God, look, he's oh, gee, they can't. It goes on. This is really going on a long time. It's gonna really. I always get worried for.
And it's funny. I got a real quick funny story about that too, because at the end of the match, he goes to throw me into the post, and I'm already going. I'm already going there, and it was just that type of match, and he was just jacked up, and I'm all of a sudden I'm going, and I can't control. I'm going so fast and so hard that I can't control it, and I just hit that post, and instantly my head split from like here to here, and I just started pouring blood. And anyway, I come to the back, and I covered from head to toe in blood. And everybody, I got back to the curtain, everybody's like, yeah, good job. Yeah, you pushed through it. And I go back to my phone, and I pick it up, and it's like 30 text messages from friends and family, like, all the way from, like, are you okay to, you know, CM Punk, a great color. And so I'm waiting, right, I'm looking through, I'm scrolling through all these, like, waiting for my wife, my girlfriend at the time, like, supposed to be at home watching. This is my first big pay-per-view, right? I got nothing from her. So I call her, I'm standing there. So, how you doing, honey? Great. Did you see the match? Yeah, it was fantastic. I busted her. And I was like, did you notice anything unique about the match? And she was like, well, yeah, you bled a lot, but I mean, I just thought that was part of the match. I mean, that's when you know your wife has been decent.
Okay, really quick, one more.
My question is for Ken and Nick. What's your favorite match that you guys been a part of?
Favorite match I've ever been a part of?
Yeah, like you've been in.
You know, sticking with the bloody theme, I had a match with Backlash in 2004 with Randy Orton. After I thought I'd underperformed at WrestleMania, where I teamed up with The Rock against Evolution. I just didn't think I'd put in that.
Wasn't that WrestleMania 20?
Yeah, and I hear it was a very good match, but I just knew deep down it hadn't been the effort that I wanted to put out. So I really went into the zone, you know, and Jill knows exactly what I meant. And I listened to Tori Amos before I wrestled. And when I came out, I was like, yeah, Winter by Tori Amos. When I came out, she'd appreciate that. I came out, I was like, I was just like flying on adrenaline. And Stacy Keibler came up to me and she looked at me and she goes, is this gonna be one of those bloody things? And I went, oh yeah. And then we really just, you can't, it's what I call an element of magic. You can't script it, you can't produce it. You just have to hope it's there. And it was there that night, you know, so the elements, you know, the foundation was there, but it was just great, you know, and to this, you know, Randy took the RKO and the thumbtacks back when that really meant something, you know, and people say we're actors, like, you can't act as terrified as he looked, you know, when he came up from that. And even after I threw him off the stage, you know, he was laying there amidst the wreckage, and Mike Chioda went over the referee to check on him, and the only thing Randy could say was, Chioda, those thumbtacks were a bad idea. Yeah, but he did it, and I made it home that next night. I caught the red eye home from Edmonton, and when I made it home and I watched Raw the next night, man, people were actually chanting his name, like it changed his perception among the fans overnight. So we did really something that important that night. But that was the best I'd ever been in the ring, and I thought I, you know, really avenged my performance, you know, a month earlier.
Can I say something before you say something?
Yeah, please.
Because everyone, like, what is remarkable to me right now is I might be able to remember certain comic book issues where things happened, and it's long been past where I can remember, like, oh, remember, you know, in Fantastic Four 322 and this happened. But the fact that you guys remember, like, you're in Edmonton, you knew this, like, this weird encyclopedic knowledge is always really fascinating to me. So I want to throw something out there, and I know no one is going to know it, but it goes along with the blood thing that was before. There was a match that I remember watching. I don't remember who it was against, except that The Undertaker was in it, and he got busted open. He got hit in the head, and every time his heart beat, a blood shot out the top of his head as he was moving, and that's all I can remember about the whole thing. Was like, it just went like a little volcano, and the match went on forever, and there was a big pool of blood. I don't know if it was with you or anything, but all I knew was like, and I was like, is somebody gonna stop this? Because eventually it's just gonna all come out the top. And I wish I had your knowledge so I could remember exactly where this happened, what match it was, what pay-per-view or whatever.
Ken, favorite match?
Favorite match.
This is gonna sound crazy because I've had some big high-profile matches, and I've wrestled a lot of the people that I grew up watching and idolizing. I had a couple of WrestleMania matches.
Was it the Legends of Wrestling match in South Florida?
Yeah, just a few weeks ago. No, but honestly, I did a match recently over in the UK for an independent promotion. I think there was about 600 people there. We were wrestling two local guys. It was Billy Gunn and I, tag teamed against these two local guys. And Billy Gunn and I have never tagged before. We've known each other for years, but it was just like this chemistry and the way that the crowd was literally on top of us. And we were just goofing around, having so much fun. Literally 15 minutes after we had been in the ring, the crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." And I was like, but we haven't done anything yet. We were just goofing off. And Billy just kept coming over to me and I'm like, this is awesome. Every little thing, and we formed a new tag team called the New Age Assholes, where I played the part of Road Dogg Jesse James. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I got to do it and do the thing, and Billy was right there. It was just awesome. It was just such an amazing experience, and you don't need 80,000 people to have that. I just love what I do. It's storytelling, and when you have that connection, and when the crowd's right there with you, it's just magic.
It's very interesting.
We literally have 1 minute. We have 1 minute. Last question of the night. Sorry, everybody. 1
More
minute.
important than this.
With how you do your impressions and with your background and stuff.
The drawing, you mean? The character?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
What do you think like had led you and helped you with doing your comic?
I mean, working with Mike.
Well, just working with Mike, I mean, it was just like I had this experience, and I almost forgot that I had done it, that I had been into art for my whole life as a kid,
So
and
many
drawn,
wrestlers are into
and
art.
had these books and stuff like that. And like I went through a box one day, I was like, wow,
Adam,
I forgot that I did this. And then shortly after that, I met Mike, and I was just like, I read the book, and it was awesome, and I wanted to be a part of it.
I just want to say that before tonight, I had no idea that Ken Anderson could draw.
There's two.
Thank you for your questions.
I wrote up my Congress.
All right. As we wrap things up, Mike, we have a big announcement. You gave us a little tease earlier on what's going on right now. At 7:30 on the dot.
So I fund my books through Kickstarter. That's enabled me to sort of bring the books out to the world. So we're running a Kickstarter for our next book, but it's actually our first book. I funded the first book myself, and then we were able to do 2 more books through Kickstarter, and now that first book doesn't necessarily hold up. So it's a great jumping on point, and when we do the Kickstarter books to because it's the lifeblood of our thing, we have like wrestlers do stories and art for it. So and you can only get those books through Kickstarter. Like if you come buy books at the table, like I have 5 chapters of the Headlocked in there, but there's none of the wrestler content. So, and we also have like a limited number of slots that if you bag it early, it's cheaper. So
how can people find the Kickstarter tonight?
well, I'm about to hit the button to make it launch, but just a little background on it. We have it's about 60 new pages of content. MVP, Samoa Joe, and the Young Bucks are doing stories for it with me, and we have like an independent wrestler gallery. Sylvester LaForte, Danny Havoc, who's a longtime deathmatch wrestler, Papadon, who's an indie guy in upstate or in the Northeast, and Scott Lost, who is one of the founders of PWG. All have art skills. They're doing a pinup gallery, and you can't. And well, Jill's doing some. She does our chapter breaks. So we've got a lot of cool stuff in there that you can't get anywhere else, and and we've got other cool signed stuff and whatever. But you should take a look.
So when they go on Kickstarter, they search for Headlocked?
It's Headlocked, a single step remastered.
Just push the button, didn't you?
I'm not yet, but
Oh.
How many people here are going to give you that Kickstarter? Let me hear you.
so.
Thank you so much for coming to the panel tonight. Have a great weekend.